Warm greetings, everyone. On behalf of W4W Foundation, a think tank instituted as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to another session of Wednesdays for Water. The conversation today is on rainwater harvesting reaching the unreached. Before we dwell into the session today, I would like to take you through what is Wednesdays for Water. What do we do? The objective of Wednesdays for Water is to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions these experts and water enthusiasts are engaging with. Wednesdays for Water has expanded since as a signature program, then to have more activities like the Friday Waters, which has water arts, water talkies, water films, book reading, water thesis, and more, and meet a maestro. Besides this, we also do Monday Munching with Women for Water. These are all online sessions. And in addition, we are also organizing on-site water workshops, water walks and talks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the water conversations possible in various ways. Since at W4W, we believe that water conversations are crucial to move towards water conservation. Do visit our website, www.w4w.in for more details. Today's session is special because it's only recent that we have expanded our speaker profile beyond India and reaching out to speakers from Asia and even outside. But the Asia session is special because it is co-hosted with the International Association for the Study of Commons and IASC, the Asia chapter, founded by late Nobel laureate Elinor Ostrom and Vincent Ostrom from the Ostrom Workshoppers at Indiana University, Bloomington. The IASC series is meant to connect the water enthusiasts and experts of Asia or those working in the Asia-specific region, wherever they can be from, specifically on the water commons. My name is Mansi Bal Bhargav, and I am the host for the session from W4W Foundation, besides holding the IASC Asia coordinator position, which helped me to leverage this series as IASC Asia series. As we discussed today, rainwater harvesting, it is a topic which is now very popular, very fancy, very known, but it is something which has been there in our civilization since antiquity. I remember from Vedas, the mention of rainwater harvesting. But now it has become a little bit complex with the kind of urbanization we are doing, and also complex in the way people look at it. When I'm teaching rainwater harvesting, I'm talking about in three different ways. You are on the roof rainwater harvesting, on the ground, within your premise, and on the lakes and ponds, wells and step wells, and so on and so forth. So I should stop here with what's in there at rainwater harvesting, because today we have very interesting discussion on rainwater harvesting reaching the unreached. And to do the honor, we have from Sri Lanka, Dr. Tanuja Aryananda and Engineer Deva Hapugowda. I hope I have pronounced his name correctly. If not, pardon me. They are our speakers today, and my dear friend Dhanushi Sena Naike as the discussant. I'm going to invite them for the presentation, but before that, as an honor, I would like to give a brief introduction of our speakers and also discuss it so that Dhanushi can take it further as the entire session. Dr. Tanuja Aryananda is a hydrobiologist with a passion to promote and campaign for sustainable water resource management. She has chaired the Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum since its inception for over 25 years. She has also served as a member of the Ministerial Committee for Developing Policy and Strategy for Rainwater Harvesting in Sri Lanka since 2005, and she's been the past president and Secretary General Director of Women's Program for International Rainwater Catchment System Association. She has authored several publications and research papers at national and international forums, and currently she is the Chief Executive Officer and Director of the Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum. And this is a co-hosted by Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum today, and also the convener of SARNet. And I think Dhanushi is going to elaborate a little bit more on these things. Dr. Tanuja has been instrumental and played a lead role in formulating and operationalizing the SARNet network, which is very interesting, which is where I met our discussant. Mr. Deve Hapugowda, I hope I'm again pronouncing his name correctly. He's a Watson engineer in the field of community development through social and infrastructure development. He's pioneer in introducing the pumpkin-shaped tank to Sri Lanka. He has worked in several key national and international development organizations, including Helditas and World Vision. He has extensive experience in promoting rainwater harvesting and efficient ways of water use, particularly in Afghanistan and Sri Lanka. And he's currently the chairman of the Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum. Now, my dear friend Dhanushi is a communication specialist and a researcher on media and public information dissemination. She has long years of experience in the development sector as a communication specialist in international development and organizations. She holds a master's in authorship and mass communication. Her research interests are community and social media, social cohesion, water and development, youth, climate change, and emerging South Asia in the new millennium. She currently serves as the coordinator of the South Asia Rainwater Network, which is the SARNet. So thank you, first of all, Dhanushi, for organizing this event and co-hosting with W4W. And thank you so much, Tanuja ma'am and Deva sir, for really giving your time and agreeing to do this session with us. I now invite Dhanushi to take the session forward with both Tanuja ma'am and Deva sir, so that you can really steer it the way you would like it to. Over to you, Dhanushi.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mansi, for that introduction. Um, so, yeah, um, I will be like very brief because I want to get the best out of the speakers today. So, I will be just facilitating for them to bring out the best kept secrets um, or the achievements or the untold stories. So rainwater harvesting, we know, is not an alien concept to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has, as an island, has a rich heritage, and the dry regions never ran short of water for cultivation. So the efforts for over the past 25 years of Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum uh, has been welcomed not only by the community but by other development actors also. So to date, the forum's work, to put it in short, the forum has contributed towards building close to 54,000 tanks, conserving, collecting rainwater and providing safe, clean source of water for households, public buildings, in schools and hospitals in dry regions where water for them was only a distant dream. Um, so from like uh, just a brief history, like Lanka rainwater harvesting has a very interesting story of how it was originated. So Dr. Tanuja and Mr. Deva will bring out those stories. So there has been a lot of support uh, from a lot of by different stakeholders for setting up Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum, and the vision uh, of the forum has grown into a national initiative, and today it is at the forefront of promoting rainwater harvesting as a sustainable water management strategy. Uh, and reflecting on the journey of 25 years, Lanka rainwater harvesting has played a significant role and also complemented the work of the National Organization for the Supply of Water in Sri Lanka. So I would stop at that, and I think this audience would love to hear uh, the journey thus far from Dr. Tanoja to bring her reflections. Over to you, Dr. Tanuja.
Thank you, Tanushi, and thank you, Dr. Mansi, for inviting us for this forum. And I from Sri Lanka. Greetings. Yes, it's a pleasure to talk to you today. I will give a brief, before I start, I'll give a brief overview of what we have been doing in Sri Lanka and why exactly. So I have a small presentation which I'll share with you. I hope that is visible. So,
Yeah, it's
okay,
visible.
Okay, thank you. So,
What you may do, ma'am, Tanuja ma'am, what you can do is the next slide is also visible. So maybe you have something to do the main slide only. So the screen is getting divided. So.
right.
Yeah, wonderful. Please go ahead.
Still it's set? Is that okay now?
Yeah, now it's perfect. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, right. So I'll go to the next slide. Okay, so just a small introduction to Sri Lanka for those of you who doesn't know about it. It's a tropical country. Temperature range from 27, even more now actually, and to and over as only about 15 degrees. So it's warm throughout in Sri Lanka. But we have a very varying rainfall with average about 2,000 millimeters, but range from about 900 millimeters to about 5,500 millimeters in the hilly areas. According to the rainfall, the country is divided into 3 zones. That is dry zone, which is about 2/3 of the country, and the intermediate zone and the wet zone. And we are actually lucky, as in many of the Asian countries, have 2 monsoons, which is southwest monsoon from April to September and northeast monsoon from March to April. So we are in the bigger monsoon period at the moment, southeast monsoon. So in total, the country receives about 100 billion cubic meters of water. But unfortunately, about 60% of this water runs off the sea as runoff. So this is where the importance of rainwater harvesting comes into play. As Dhanushi mentioned, we have ancient technology on rainwater harvesting. These are some of the from one of our kings, King Parakumbahu the Great, who says, "There's not a single drop of water that falls from the sky, flows to the sea without being used for the benefit of man and the environment." So this statement has become quite international now, but it is said by one of our kings. And as I said, although it was said a long time ago, still about 60% of this water that falls onto our island goes off as runoff. So this is the potential we can tap. Okay, so although it was practiced a long time ago, it has been forgotten in somewhat and not being used. But there has, over the last 30 years, there has been a revival, not only in Sri Lanka, but all around the world on rainwater harvesting. So in Sri Lanka, it started in 1995 by a community water supply and sanitation project, which operated in 3 districts. Deva will, Mr. Hapagoda will explain more on this, about this project and how we started. So I will not dwell on that. But there was also public demand for water, because there has been some issues in certain places in the country which doesn't have either enough water for their basic needs, or the water that is available is not in good quality, not usable. So because of that, there was a need for alternative water supply. So Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum started in 1996 to cater for this water demand. So we have members, we are a small group, but we have members from the government, from the NGO sector, from the private sector, and just individuals who are interested in promoting this concept. So our goal is to lead the nation in rainwater harvesting technology, construction, utilization, and to share experience and technology of rainwater harvesting for domestic use. So we have only concentrating on domestic use, because we feel that for the agriculture and other use, there are other actors who will do that. So we do our activities through promotion, various demonstration projects throughout the island, awareness program at all different levels, from community to officials to policymakers. We have various publications and also on media and social media as well. We also do research and development to improve this technology to make it more user friendly for the community that is been using, and also develop the technology. We do training from, as I said, from household level to mason level to professional level to etc. And networking is again one of our strong activities. We do network within the country, within the region, as mentioned about SARNET, South Asia Rainwater Harvesting Network, and also internationally with the International Rainwater Harvesting Catchments Association, formerly it was called, and now also International Rainwater Harvesting Alliance as well. So these are the location of the different tanks. As Dhanushi also mentioned, about 50,000 of the systems are in operation, domestic rainwater systems. And these are the list of organizations that have been implementing, supported by us in various ways, for technical support, etc., training support, etc. So wide variety of organization, both public sector, government sector, as well as the development, international development agencies. Then this is the important one for us. In 2005, the first national policy on water harvesting came about. It was approved by the government, cabinet of ministers first, and then the parliament first. The main objective was to aim to encourage community to control water near its source by harvesting rainwater. So catch where it falls, that was the idea. So after the policy came about, we want to promote it in the region as well. So the government of Sri Lanka, Ministry of Water Supply, organized a conference, which it was attended by five SAARC ministers, and a declaration was signed by these ministers to promote rainwater harvesting within the region. Then at the same time, there was also a SAARC declaration, 15th SAARC declaration, which was held in Sri Lanka in 2008, also promoted rainwater harvesting, or identified rainwater harvesting as solution for water crisis in the region, within the region. So policy alone would not make things work. So one of the recommendation of the policy was to change some of the acts, and one of them is the Urban Development Law, Urban Development Authority Drainage Act, which earlier says whatever water that falls onto your roof or to your premises should be discarded quick as possible to the nearest drain. So that was the earlier UDA law, but the influence is to change it, or the policy recommended amendment to this law to change and say you have to collect certain amount of water. The certain amount will depend on where the location is and the size of your roof, etc. And only the balance can be put to the drain. So this is the how it was amended in Sri Lanka. So this is in operation till 2007, and regulation came about in 2009. This is my last slide. So rainwater harvesting has been solution for has been used for safe drinking water by communities who has experienced drought and floods as well. So many people think it's only drought resilient solution, but also as flood resilient, because when there is no there's too much water, the other sources get polluted, etc. They cannot use especially the well waters, etc. We have installed rainwater systems around our coastal areas after the tsunami in the south and eastern areas. And also, we have introduced to communities who have been resettling in the north after the civil war. So that has been the water source for them as well. And also in areas where the water quality is bad. In some areas in Sri Lanka, we have what is called a health condition called CKDU, that is chronic kidney disease of unknown etiology. They still don't know the cause of this, what has caused it. But we have found that by giving people rainwater, this condition has improved in the patients that have been drinking rainwater. So about 52% of, nearly 53% of the household who has CKD patients are actually drinking rainwater. We have areas where the groundwater has high level of fluoride. So these areas also rainwater has been introduced. And as well as during the COVID, we found that when people cannot go out due to restriction on movement to get water, rainwater harvesting has been a great blessing to these households who has been having a rainwater system. Not only did they use the rainwater for their drinking as well as hygiene purposes, they also shared the water with their neighbors who didn't have a rainwater system. That has been main finding. This is water at the doorstep for women and children. As you know, in many of the countries in our region, it's the women who has to go to get water, and sometimes many long distances, which facing many hazards. So having a rainwater system at your doorstep is very convenient. It saves them time, and also they gives them security as well. Food security, more drop for crops. So having a rainwater system, you can put it for home garden, developing their home garden, and thereby increasing the family's nutrition level as well as a saving on the expenditure for vegetables and fruits. We have also been able to influence private sector, especially the plantation sector, to adopt rainwater harvesting, especially the tea plantations and other plantation as well. So we have gone beyond a little bit from the domestic side, but influence the others also to adopt rainwater harvesting. And in the Green Building Council, one of the criteria is if you have a rainwater harvest system, you score more. So that has been also included in the Green Building Council selection criteria for giving merits. Okay, so that's the end of my brief presentation. I'm sure more points will come during the question discussion session. So I'll leave it at that and wait for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanuja ma'am. May I invite Deva sir to also put up his presentation and talk with a brief view of him,
Yes.
maybe on video. And yes, this is also a request. I see that people are seeking, NS Murthy is seeking the presentation. That will be nice. Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Dr. Mansi.
Thank you so much, sir. Please present your presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. Please put it on slideshow so it becomes easier. Yeah.
Can you not see on slideshow now?
Can you see it now?
I'm still seeing the main screen, but someone else may also confirm if you are seeing the slideshow or the main screen.
No, we are still seeing the main screen with all the
Thank you,
slides.
Saki. Yes. And meanwhile, Deva sir is arranging his presentation. I also want to extend invitation to any one of you who are participants here, and I see a few people on YouTube. If you like to be speaker and if you have something very interesting around water or concerning around water, you may please write to us and we will be very happy to host you as speakers in forthcoming sessions. Just know that we are usually reserving sessions 6 to 8 weeks in advance so that all the volunteers can really take their easy time to organize the sessions. Thank you. Over to you, Deva sir.
Thank you. Just a few words about myself.
Yeah.
I have worked as a water engineer in Sri Lanka and in Afghanistan. Before that, I also worked as a water engineer in the Pacific Islands, where I used rainwater for 6 years in the islands called Kiribati. Some of you know. Anyway, now going back to the subject today, we have the idea of rainwater harvesting. Dr. Tanuja explained the current work of the Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum. I will begin by explaining the stories before the forum, which is also interesting, and how it came to be. Because in 1995, rainwater harvesting was not considered a water supply option for mainstream water supply schemes. And in 1995, in Sri Lanka, they started a rural water supply project funded by the World Bank, which did not have rainwater harvesting as an option. But the consultants found that in some parts of Sri Lanka, a better option would be to try out rainwater harvesting. They proposed rainwater harvesting to the steering committee of the World Bank project, which they could not understand. And as a response, the steering committee informed the consultants to do a research, action research on rainwater harvesting and prove to the steering committee that it is feasible or if it's not feasible. And I happen to be the person who was selected to do the research. And the main challenge on the rainwater harvesting option was to prove that by storing rain when it rains is adequate to supply when it's not raining, which also meant that we have to store the water when it rains, which also meant that we have to build storage tanks. And this, sorry for my voice. And to build storage tanks, the main issue was the cost. The World Bank project at that time in 1995 was ready to spend $100 per household for water supply, whatever type. But if we can prove that using rainwater harvesting with $100, you could supply a tank that was big enough to supply adequate quantity of water for that family. These are rural areas. They were ready to accept it. And as a result, we have to come out with a low-cost tank. And as a result, we built the two tanks that you see on the screen, one underground, made out of bricks, and one above ground, made out of ferrocement. The first one was called the brick dome tank, and the bottom one is called the pumpkin tank. And this tank, we could build it at that time for $125. And we assume that the roof is in place, and the gutters are also in place, or if you have to spend for it, householders have to spend for those. But the tank, the project was going to spend, if it could supply the quantity of water per person, at that time, I think 50 liters per day. And then we prepared graphs that for different parts of the country, as Tanuja mentioned, the rainfall is different. So for different areas, the quantity of water you can get from the same type of rainwater harvesting system was different, but it has to be above the standard of 50 liters per day per person. And with this between 5 and 10 cubic meter tank, we could solve that problem. The 5 cubic meter tank we could build for $125. Of course, the 10 cubic meter tank was going to be more expensive. So the steering committee gave us permission to apply rainwater harvesting only to the places where the other options were not as feasible as rainwater harvesting. And that was the birth, and the report that we prepared was introduced at the Rainwater International Conference in Beijing in 1995. And they advised us to form the Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum at the International Forum. And we came back and we were able to find few interesting people who were interested on the subject. And we were able to even find people who were practicing rainwater harvesting on their own. And that was the birth of the forum. That was pre-forum story. And this tank is made out of ferro cement. And I think we have YouTube videos how it's constructed. And it's surprising for me that it's still being copied, used, for the simple reason that it is a robust tank and the cost is minimal. And the cost is low because of the material use is low due to its shape. It has the shape of like a bowl. So in Sri Lanka, as explained by Dr. Tanaja, we have been building these tanks all over the country. This already mentioned, but you get some pictures of the tank under construction. It's a ferrocement tank. It has a very simple and a low-cost mold. And we presented this at an international conference in Brazil some years ago, and a Japanese participant invited us to Tokyo, Japan to build the tank. And now they use that tank as the logo of their International Rain Center in Tokyo. Here, this is the picture of that. Okay, the next part of my story is the work I have done in Afghanistan. I had the opportunity of going to Afghanistan in 2002 to find water. I did not expect, when I went there, I did not expect that the rainfall in Afghanistan was 1/10 of the rainfall we have in Sri Lanka. And the challenge, but interestingly, I was able to visit or see some rainwater tanks built thousands of years ago in Afghanistan. The picture you see on the right side is a snow and rain collecting tank, snow melt and rain collecting tank. I consider it as a Buddhist monastery. So it has to be over 1,500, 1,300-1,400 years old. They have carved the rock into a tank. They are collecting water. And then with a small rainfall and with villagers who are not used to using cement, it was a big challenge in designing a tank. Onto your left, you see a drawing of a tank which I designed, of course, with the long dry spell in Afghanistan, 5 cubic meter, 10 cubic meter, very small sense. So we have to minimum size of the tank that we built. The design was 25 cubic meters, and it cost about $500, 2003, 2004 period. And it was able to collect fresh water off the ground runoff. But the ground runoff is not very clean. But considering the situation in Afghanistan, it is very difficult to find fresh water of any type. And even the runoff, once it's collected, it's very valuable fresh water for these rural villages in Afghanistan. Then, in order to increase the volume of fresh water, because the rainfall pattern in Afghanistan is that it rains about 200 millimeters, rain and snow. All together, it's about 200 millimeters. It all happens in about 2 to 3 month period. After that, it's dry the entire 9 months. So we need to find ways and means of collecting more of the rain and the snow melt. So we designed small dams made out of rubble masonry without steel. Rubble you can find in rural Afghanistan, but we needed to import cement and use cement used to the masons there. Though they don't have much material in the remote villages of these in the western Afghanistan area, the people are very skilled and they can be easily trained. And we were able to build 2 dams in the period I was there. And you can see the picture of the dam on the right side of the screen. So if anybody needs more information about the construction of these structures, to get in touch with the Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum, we will be able to provide this information. The importance, in my opinion, is that they are strong engineering, civil engineering features, but they are not expensive, at least in the areas that I work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deva sir. Thanks a lot. Your voice was quite, I think you were sitting back, but it was wonderful presentation, but it was very light sometimes, but I could hear all of it. I hope the participants also managed to hear all of it, but we will have the recording and editing done later. But wonderful presentation, short and sweet and smart. And maybe Dhanushi, I know you have some questions to make a representation of the citizens, and maybe we will start the conversation. Meanwhile, I also invite all the participants to have their questions and comments either in the chat box or raise their digital hand so that we can reach you and really engage you in this conversation. Over to you, Dhanushi.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mansi.
And your video,
so,
please. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I think succinctly both it was an overview of the work of Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum and the work in the region as well. So I do have 2 questions. I think both not only for the speakers, I guess maybe sometimes the audience could also add to that. So for all the, also my observations, being with SANET, a key challenge for most of the time for rainwater enthusiasts or those who are passionate to promote rainwater harvesting as a water conservation measure is to battle with the disinformation or the claim that harvested rainwater is not suitable for drinking. So what are all your thoughts on this, or how do we go forward? How do we grapple with this?
Okay, who is taking the question? Tanuja ma'am or Deva sir? Please unmute yourself and respond. Yeah, go ahead. Please unmute yourself. And Dhanushi, please keep yourself with the video on. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, going forward, actually, to get more awareness about, especially with the officials, the people who are and the regulations are all there, but it's a matter of getting them to implement, and also to create awareness among the public about the rainwater harvesting use, the benefit. I mean, it's okay. We are promoting more in the rural areas where water is an issue. They don't have pipe water supplies, but it is also can be promoted in the urban area. The pipe water supply is given, but it is at a cost to the household, cost to the by incorporating rainwater harvesting in their households, in the plantation, in the industry, etc. It's a natural resource that which is going to waste, and also it, the climate change issues we are facing with rainfall variations, where we get intense rainfall for short period and long drought periods. Rainwater harvesting can be adapted easily.
Quality and
So, question.
Yes. Dhanushi?
Yeah. So any others?
That answer.
Part of it, yes, like we need like more awareness about rainwater harvesting. There are a lot of enthusiasts. There are several actors who has got together. So, but our voice, we need to more awareness is, as Dr. Tanuja suggested, and also do we get to we also need to get more the policymakers at global level to address this, I guess. So could I also add another question that I wanted to bring in?
Of course,
Dr. Mas?
it's your time. Go ahead. Go ahead. We have
Uh,
only one comment in the chat box, but I
Yeah.
invite and encourage others to also post their questions and comments. I also have my own questions. Go ahead, Dhanushi. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So another thing is that rainwater harvesting has lot of untapped potential, and it's also an answer which not many had. Maybe it is identified, but it has not come into light. Like it is not getting the recognition that it should be in the climate change adaptation agendas, or in nurturing or restoring biodiversity. So again, to Tanuja and to Deva, like what are your thoughts, or what would you suggest? Also to anyone else in the audience also to add into that.
Basically, I mean, I think it's a matter of lobbying to the right audience. who is the policymaker or who are the donors who will support rainwater harvesting in different countries. In the recent FOP forum, there was a session on biodiversity and rainwater harvesting, and some SARNET members also presented at this forum. RAN Foundation is one. Rainwater harvesting has many benefits, not only as water supply system, but also for flood mitigation, to promote biodiversity, etc. So many aspects. So those aspects should be promoted at the right level, so that support, both policy formation support as well as funding support is given to the countries that is needed. Deva, you want to add something? Deva?
Yeah, I think the issue about cost matters a lot. If you can get cheap water from another source or another system, then it's very difficult to promote rainwater harvesting. But subsidize water supply to a large extent. So of course, there's economic justification for that. So in that situation, it's difficult to promote rainwater harvesting. But yeah, I think if the government charges the actual cost of supplying pipe water, including the capital cost, rainwater harvesting will become much more attractive. I see that as one of the major issues. But and also, if there is no water source, then also rainwater harvesting becomes more interesting. If the source is very far away or something, like in a hilly area, then rainwater harvesting can be promoted. So unless you can promote rainwater harvesting as the economical option, it's difficult to convince the decision makers. I don't know exactly what the clear answer to that, because for various other reasons, if somebody is ready to subsidize water supply, then rainwater harvesting will have to wait till that subsidy stops or something like that. But as an option, you can have it available to be used anytime when it's needed. What do you think, Stanley?
Yeah, I think yes. The constraint or challenge for rainwater harvesting is that the initial cost is quite high to install a system, especially for a rural household. So if some support can be given, then we can.
We started the bank system.
Yes. Some we started the subsidy system, which is going quite well. So that sort of system, the banks can take up, the rural banks can take up, the national banks can take up to support harvesting, installation of rainwater harvesting at household level.
Maybe in the future, because the price of water has gone up since the economic crisis.
Yeah.
The price has gone up in the last 2 years. Water, so the demand for what you pay for pipe water has gone up. And in the future, I think the option of rainwater harvesting, there more people will be looking at it.
Thank you, Deva and Anuja. So I guess there are a few questions also which has been there in the chat box, and Dr. Mansi also you also said you have some questions. So I guess since we are running behind like time, we'll take them
Yeah, thank you, Dhanushi, and thank you, Devasa and Tanuja ma'am. And we are definitely on time. So I will start with the one question and then take maybe NS Murthy. Would you like to engage directly and make your point a little bit, elaborate it, and then engage with our speakers?
Good evening.
Go
This is
ahead.
NS Murthy, and I'm
Please
basically
come
from
closer to the speaker,
yeah,
your instrument.
I'm basically from Chennai. We are doing some rainwater harvesting project for our college, that is NIT Trichy. And there, what we wanted is that a good design, which can be most what you call maintenance friendly as well as operation friendly. So we are looking at the option of collecting the rainwater. There is about 900 acres of land, a few buildings, and any rainwater roof water collection is going to be a costly affair, because you have to have maintenance and so many other things. And again, the area can be smaller. With the erratic rainwater supply, we thought better to allow the rainwater to percolate and then go into the aquifers, which we can pick it up. So that's what we are looking at. Is any good design which we can go in for aquifers recharging? That's what my question is about.
Yeah. Okay. Tanuja ma'am, Devasa.
You can respond.
Yeah. Aquifer recharging we have done from the roof, as the catchment into the wells. Unlike in India, where the groundwater recharge is quite intensely done, we don't have such a big issue here because our groundwater levels are quite high so far. So we do in coastal areas where the groundwater is saline, we do this, and also in areas where the groundwater has high content of minerals in it. That has been very effective to both to increase the groundwater table as well as to improve the water quality as well. But not on surface water enough infiltration. But that is happening anyway in the big lakes or the big reservoirs that are there, which are also, replenishing the groundwater. So in the dry zone areas. So that is already there in place.
Wonderful. And Murthy, NS Murthy ji, I will request you to engage with them or more people. I'm sure you are aware of it. And I think if it is campus in your case, you can explore all the three options which I was telling in the beginning, maybe. And it's a good time. If there are any other people who want to, participants who want to ask questions, let me also check the YouTube. There are sometimes comments and questions there as well. Meanwhile, I want to make two observations and seek your advice here. First of all, it was very interesting to hear when said that it is not really a beneficiary proposition for people when the water is cheaper, the alternate water is cheaper. So in a way, there is not much incentive for people to really engage in rainwater harvesting. Given that situation, I would like to understand how it is promoted or, how people get motivated in Sri Lanka to do rainwater harvesting. And I'm saying with the context of India, because here now in urban areas, it is mandatory to have rainwater harvesting in every. But at the same time, the alternate water is readily available. So we really feel short of motivation and incentive to do rainwater harvesting. So what do you think from your experience, unless and until you have a situation like Afghanistan and probably lot of water starved areas in India as well, where they will have to see rainwater harvesting as a competing alternative to conserve. What do you think? What kind of tools are available, especially when if it is not in the global agenda, whether it is UN or COP or any? What kind of tools are currently available to encourage and convince people to do rainwater harvesting? I mean, from across the world.
Okay. Well, yes, tools are, as as I said, the regulations are there, but it has to be added to and monitored. But across the world, there's many countries, especially Australia, Germany, places like that, who actually offers incentives to, either as a rebate on their tax or some reduction in tax of the rainwater harvesting products that is available. So that those are some incentives for people to adopt rainwater harvesting, especially in the urban areas. And of course, yeah, so, and the policies are there, regulations are there to encourage them. But yeah, so incentives need to be there, because otherwise, especially people, as I said, the deterrent from people to adopt rainwater harvesting is the initial cost. So, but after the initial cost, the water, you get almost free water, because very little maintenance cost. So, to encourage people to get over that hurdle, you have to offer some incentives. That would be the best.
Yeah, one.
All,
I see Vishu. Go ahead, sir. Dhanushi, go ahead. I
Yeah,
see Vishwanath is still around. If it is, he is the same Vishwanath I know. Maybe you can also jump in. Go ahead, Dhanushi.
yeah, just one thing which I thought is worthwhile, Tanuja, now, apart from communities who would seek rainwater harvesting from areas where water is scarce or not reached by the mainstream, like industries who always like come to who seek consultation from who has set up or installed rainwater harvesting systems, who has benefited. Lanka Rainwater Harvesting Forum has been a key source of information and guidance to such institutions in the commercial sector. So I would request, if possible, if you could quickly share some of such experiences.
And also maybe a little bit few more words on SARNet, because that's where we connected as well, and it's a huge network.
Right. Yes. Yes, we have been able to influence some industries, especially the plantation sector and some factories, to install rainwater harvesting system as like conservation side, environment conservation side, as well as to reduce cost on the water supply, and as well as to ensure water security, because some of these factories sometimes, when when they are taking water from the ground level, and when there's a long period of drought, and they have to shut down because the water is not available, or they have to spend a lot of money to bring water from outside through tankers or bowsers, as we call it. So that cost is reduced if you have a rainwater harvesting system already in place. So we've been able to influence some of these private sector to take up rainwater harvesting, and very successfully as well, especially in the plantation sector. So, and as you mentioned also on SARNet, the South Asia Network for Rainwater Harvesting, we started in started way back in 2006 from those conferences that I mentioned earlier. But actually, it was finally formulated and set up in 2020. And we have been able to attract about 200 members so far. We have also, within the SARNet, another chapter for young rainwater champions who regularly interact with each other to share information, experiences, and the different technology, not rainwater harvesting. So we have had two major conferences so far. So this is a platform for all rainwater harvesters, professionals, and also practitioners to share their experience and to promote it to other locations, as we are doing now as well. And I feel this is the lobby we need to create to influence the policymakers and the funding organization to support rainwater harvesting in the future, especially for climate change.
And I think, yeah, it's a path to water sufficiency, sustainability. We can talk about for oneself or one's family. I would like, yes, this is our Vishwanath. So Vishwanath, go ahead and jump into the conversation.
Yeah. So it's wonderful to see Tanuja and Deva, especially Deva. Adventures in the then Soviet Union and East Germany and China is something to hear of at some other conference. He just gave a very modest introduction to his work in Afghanistan. He's done some remarkable work with the pumpkin tank. My question is very specific to Deva and Tanuja. What we found in Bangalore City and Karnataka, Tanuja and Deva, is that doing rainwater harvesting in schools has great merit. One, it supplements the school's water requirements, sometimes drinking water, but mostly non-potable water also. But two, it has great educational value. You're able to teach children the quality of rainwater, the quantity of rainwater, and its linkages with the quantum and rainfall patterns, right? What's been your experience in doing rainwater harvesting in schools, especially government schools, and what's been the reaction of children and students and teachers to this?
Thank you. I think Tanuja is the best person to answer that.
Okay, thank you, Vishwanath, for the question, and hello, after a long time. Yes, schools, we are actually focusing very much in the school. As you said, very rightly said, we want to influence the children. This is their future. So to do water conservation and also rainwater harvesting. So we do various active model making competitions and poster competition, etc. We do lots of programs with them at different levels to encourage them to incorporate rainwater harvesting in their curriculum. Also, is now included in one grade, but also to educate them on this as well as climate change issues as well. Yes. One is operation and maintenance in schools, which is little difficult to manage because although we have groups formed in school to do that, so unless the authorities, school authorities are also geared up to it, it's very little difficult rather than at a household level. So this is the issue we have been facing.
Thank you. And to Deva specifically, because Deva is always the shy, never talks kind of person and passes on the questions to you, Tanuja. To Deva.
Tanuja does all the work, but something interesting happened recently. That we had these inter-school debates. Subject was always, should government subsidize rainwater harvesting? That was the subject. And one side said yes, one side said no. And we were surprised that the children have prepared, they have studied a lot, and we had it in so many schools.
Yeah.
So many districts, and they really got into the subject. And,
yeah. So Deva, after the pumpkin tank, have you done any work on rainwater filters? Because in India, I see a lot of innovation in cheap but very effective rainwater filters. Any work that you've done on that and anything that is happening in Sri Lanka?
no, not so much filters. We had this earthen filter impregnated with silver that was supposed to clean the water. But since that, we haven't done anything very much on filters.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vishwanath, and thanks, Devasar and Tanuja ma'am, for the response. And it was interesting to hear three rainwater experts talking to each other. I want to just have a last bit of line on this pumpkin tank, because I see interesting pictures there at schools, at different setups, local people making beautiful paintings on them. And you made a very good observation saying about the issue of maintenance at the school level, and why at domestic level it becomes easier to even do rainwater harvesting, or especially the maintenance part of it. And I think we can go on discussing this bit. But just to understand the whole idea of pumpkin shape and going to different stakeholders to convince them about doing rainwater harvesting, because I think it is about empowering oneself with rainwater harvesting and not being dependent. But I guess, so I'm taking a question a little bit deeper. The whole idea of top-down water management or governance through pipelines and all somewhere has made us disempowered or became dependent on the large water supply, and it also kind of distanced ourselves to make oneself water sufficient or water empowered. What is your take on it about the future of rainwater harvesting, given that climate change and all other water crises are creeping in from left, right, and center? That will be the last question, and I don't see any questions here. So maybe you can just respond to this. Future of rainwater harvesting in Asia, Sri Lanka. Yes.
Yeah, future. This we in Sri Lanka, because we have a lot of rain, it's so much rain that almost every place, all the water that you use for your domestic consumption falls on your roof. So it's possible in the future that all the water you need comes from the rain water, and all the electricity you need can come from solar panels and become independent. And I think it's possible, but maybe we should do some pilot projects.
Yeah, that is like life coming full circle in that sense, becoming more self-sufficient or self-sustained. And I think that will be the need of the hour in future as well. Maybe we would like to have one more session discussing the whole idea of rainwater harvesting. Dhanushi, you can keep in mind, and we can do it sometime. Because often I get puzzled personally when we talk about rainwater harvesting. It is naturalized as roof water harvesting, and to me, it is more about roof water, ground, on ground in the campus, and lake and pond and well water harvesting is also for me rainwater harvesting. So maybe it's a good idea if we can organize a session when we have people who are rejuvenating lakes, rejuvenating well. We have Vishwanath already sitting here, and who are mastering and really advocating roof water harvesting, so that we can have all the three pillars of rainwater conservation, let's say harvesting and conservation, and just see the merits and the complementarity of the three approaches. I think that will be a wonderful session. I hope Dr. Tanuja and Devasar and Vishwanath agrees to it, and we can start planning and think about it in the coming months and find speakers to join us. With these, I would like to take the opportunity to again thank all the participants first, who have really made these conversations possible, because we do it for all of us, but especially if there are participants, it's always encouraging also for the speakers. We have crossed 325 sessions and probably touched lives of more than 5,000 people in these sessions, because initially there used to be more people when online life was very active. But we still would like to encourage all of you to go through our 300 plus sessions on our website, www.w4w.in. And before that, I close the session, I also want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Tanuja ma'am and Deva sir for their time, as well as explaining it in that calm and composed manner in a very nice classroom way about these nuances of rainwater harvesting. And thanks to my dear friend Dhanushi to put this session together and helping us connect with the huge network of SARNet. So before I close, I also wish to invite you for our forthcoming Wednesdays for Water session, which is also an equally interesting session when we talk about drinking from the tap, the Odisha story, where we actually meet a bureaucrat who made potable water out of, I will say, main water doctor, G. Mati Wathanan from Odisha, to talk about how the whole journey of Odisha from resource water to potable water was taken up as a mega campaign. That's next Wednesday, 18th, but please note the time is changed. Usually we are having 5 to 6 p.m., but because sir requested for a change of time, it is at 3 p.m. IST, 3 to 4 p.m. IST. But this week, Friday Water Arts, we have very interesting session again, and it's with Daedra from New Zealand. So that's equally promising session from Daedra McMahon, and she is going to talk about water healing arts, a very strong advocate of using water as a tool of healing the society, and wonderful art forms she experiments. And she's going to come on our platform on this Friday Waters, which is 13th of December, but please mind the time again because it is New Zealand. So we are doing 1 to 2 p.m. IST, which is actually already night, late night in New Zealand. So please do take care of these timings, and also do keep looking at our website for all further details, and all our talks are there for your reference. It's an open source water education, making us the longest water conversation in the world as well. With this, thank you all of you once again, and please take care of yourself. And if you are interested to speak on this platform, you know where to get in touch with us. Thank you so much, all of you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Mansi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye bye.